Today, we kick off our cruel summer triple feature with Robert Rodriguez's sweat-soaked strip club showdown. The laps are being danced on, the necks are being sucked on, and Quentin Tarantino is letting his foot fetish flag fly as we hijack an RV on the Texas-Mexico border to meet the seductive and sinister Santanico Pandemonium and her Titty Twister patrons in From Dusk Till Dawn.
The box. You opened it. We came.
I met him 15 years ago. I was told there was nothing left.
Who are you? Explorers in the further regions of experience. Demons to some, angels to others.
Call you Meatloaf? Surprise, Sydney.
Come on, don't be chicken shit.
Welcome to How I Met Your Monster, the show where we discuss the introductions to your favorite movie monsters. Today, we are kicking off a brand new summer-themed triple feature. It's our cruel summer triple feature.
And we're talking in here.
Yeah, I know, right? And
Zach's in a flannel.
I'm in a fucking flannel. I mean, what better clothing choice to kick off a cruel summer triple feature? But make sure to follow How I Met Your Monster on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're all over the place. And if you're not following us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube now, make sure to subscribe there as well. So we are talking Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's From Dusk Till Dawn from 1996. And we are joined today by Guilford Adams. You are a actor, writer, director. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah,
Man,
from Austin.
I'm
Yeah,
so
from
fucking good at
Austin.
this. I'm good at introducing guests. And you're from Austin. Okay. And
Yeah.
you have a new documentary coming out.
I do. It's called American Clown. I've worked as a professional clown for the 20, almost 30 years. And
okay.
There's been a explosion of the horror clown. And
Sure.
I think it's kind of pushing this sort of I guess the everyday clown to the side. And so I really wanted to document that. And so I did that through
Okay.
the American Clown. I've got Steve-O and John C. Reilly and David Arquette and a lot of heavy hitters in it to kind of express their love for clowning.
That's amazing.
Yeah. That's awesome. So
And
what got
when-
you? Oh, go ahead, Danny.
I was going to say, when's it available? I want to watch it.
Well, so
Yeah.
it premieres here at Dances with Films, which is going to be June 23rd here in Los
Okay.
Angeles, actually in Hollywood Highland, where they do the Academy Awards right there at the
Awesome.
Man's Chinese Theaters. And then,
Awesome.
and the hope is we get some distribution soon after.
Amazing.
Yeah.
that. So that's that's going to be the world premiere on the 23rd of June.
That's so
Awesome.
exciting.
Awesome. And what got you into the world of clowns? Like when you've been doing it for like 30 years, like what sparked that when you were younger?
I did it a little bit as a kid. My
Uh-huh.
church had a program set up when I grew up in the South, and something called Caring Clowns, where they use ministry to kind of reach out to older folks and younger folks and that sort
Gotcha.
of stuff. And I learned balloon animals. I made my first clown costume and stuff. And then when I got into high school, I did what a lot of people do, and I kind of got into girls and sports and stuff. But then I
Yeah.
revisited it kind of in college because I came into acting as an athlete, and I was just very physical. And so when I
Mhm.
moved out to LA, I started my own clown company and kind of really got into kind of that and the physicality. And, I felt like I was standing on the shoulders of all these film giants like Charlie Chaplin and Buster
Sure.
Keaton and all these guys that lived in the exact same city, 100
Yeah.
years previous. So it's just got like, I got kind of intoxicated by it, and I pursued it ever since.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
So you were
Uh,
talking about in the documentary, there's that correlation between this sort of like the clown world that you're in versus sort of like how they're depicted in horror movies.
Yeah.
How
Well,
has that kind of affected your work?
Oh, it affects everything. I
Yeah.
mean, it affects all of us. And I think the biggest thing that happened in I guess the mid to like 2015, 16, there was just a crazy clown scare, and everything was like, oh, these
Yeah.
crazy clowns are coming to LA, and the Barnum and Bailey Circus closed. And then I was working for McDonald's as one of their assistants to Ronald McDonald in the field. They closed. So like, it was just like,
Wow.
what's going on, man?
Yeah.
And it was right there with the presidential election of 2016.
Oh,
Everything just
yeah.
seemed like, I don't get it. And it was this weird blending of kind of entertainment, but entertainment is now news, like,
Yeah.
so it just felt like I just couldn't see straight. And I thought, like, I need to talk to other people, other clowns, about what's going on. Like, what
Yeah.
is this? This is kind of new territory. And I spent the documentary just really over the past 8 years having that conversation, trying to figure out which way is up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great concept. Great idea.
Yeah.
Thanks. Man.
So, you said you'd been making it for 8 years.
Yeah.
What was it? Did you just like feel like it was like, what was going through your head to be like, okay, it's time to wrap this up and package it and put it out?
Well, I thought my wife might kill me if I kept it going. But
I get
there
that,
was also, there was, so I do a lot of parties out here still. I'll still do kids parties. I'll do like that 30-year-old, somewhere in Silver Lake that wants a birthday party.
Totally.
And we got to a point with it was like, I feel like there's a groundswell of goodwill in people that are interested in clowns. Like, that
Sure.
pendulum has swung all the way back around.
Okay.
And the new generation is like, dude, I love clowns. But it just felt like the right time. We also had amassed probably 24 interviews. And for the producers always want to get big names. I totally get it. But for every big name we start pulling in, we got to get rid of one of these rank and file clowns that I think really deserve to have their story told.
Yeah.
But just felt like, it's like having a full closet, but wanting more clothes. Like we just got to wrap this closet up, I think. And then we can do another one in the future. But I think we're here. So it was a combination of those things, really.
Awesome.
Yeah. Robert Rodriguez, though, he's a big Austin filmmaker. So when I was there before I moved out to LA, I worked as a stand-in once on his film, The Faculty.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I think I was like working as a stand-in for Robert Patrick, I believe, who I later met in LA working on a different show. But I just thought it was such a weird world. He walks around with his guitar, Robert Rodriguez, all the time on set, and then just plays, and it just kind of flows in a very natural way. That's where I met Elijah Wood for the first time, and just a really cool set.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're big fans of The Faculty on this show. For sure. But
Robert Rodriguez, he attracts some like really awesome like a very eclectic group of actors. It's always like a big cast. It's like a showstopper. It's never just like low key. He kind of comes in.
Right.
Like literally, you were talking about the guitar. It made me think of Desperado. I was gonna say he comes in guns blazing.
And his visual style is very very unique. Like even watching it, again, because of our prep, I watched it again last night, and I was like, oh yeah, I mean, just the cuts are very not mainstream Hollywood.
No.
Yeah, because he directed this, he was the editor, he was a camera operator, and also with the camera operation, he also did Steadicam on this. And I absolutely, like, to your point, I absolutely love the editing in this movie with the mix of the weird cuts with sound effects and like swooshes and stuff like that. Is like they pull the camera back, you hear like a whoosh, and it's so cool.
Yeah, or the drop, or it's very it's a little Keystone Copsy. Like there's just like the camera seems like another character sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. And this was 1996. This was George Clooney's like breakout film role.
Is it really?
Yeah, he had been doing ER. He had been it wasn't his first movie. He had been doing, he's been in a lot of movies as small things, but this was like coming off of ER. This was like his big breakout role in film. And then, after this was like One Fine Day, and then it just snowballed from there. But he had been on ER.
There was very much leading man vibes in it. I mean, he plays a bad guy, but then at the beginning, there's something really nice when I think we all kind of fall into him, and like he's the main protagonist. When they finally get in Mexico, like, okay, guys, here we go, we're good now, and like that's just we're just gonna push on, and we're like, okay, we're in familiar Clooney territory,
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
there's a strange charm to him.
Yeah,
which is makes me uncomfortable as the audience, because they are such, like, the Gecko brothers are so hateable. They're horrible people. Especially, obviously, Richie is there to kind of contrast him even more because he's so detestable.
Yeah.
But even Seth is just, it's like, that is, I mean, I'm not an actor, but I can only imagine what the challenge must be to take on like what the script is giving you, this his backstory, and then to give it, like you said, that leading man charm.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of insane. It's really, we were talking about this texting just kind of casually about the movie, and I was like, yeah, this is definitely up there as one of my favorite Clooney performances.
Yeah,
which
it's solid. It's really solid.
Yeah. And that's just
for such a crazy movie. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you can take a character like that, that's so despicable, and but like like you said, like you just like you're kind of rooting for him, and you're like, here's our guy.
Get
like,
in the car
we're
with
comfortable
you at
in
the
this.
end.
Yeah. It's like that's a really good, performance and good written character. And yeah. Speaking of writing, this was not only written by Quentin Tarantino, but also Robert Kurtzman, who was, is part of K&B Effects, and they did all the makeup for this. But
because then you had Greg Nicotero. So it says, I saw it on IMDb that he's in the movie, but I couldn't catch
Greg
him. I didn't see
Nicotero?
him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he is in it when they're in the bar, they haven't turned into vampires yet, and a guy sits down and tries to take Sex Machine's beer or something like that.
And then the guns come out of his
That's when you see like his gun come out, and then he's like, okay, he like backs off. That is Greg Nicotero.
Did he not yet have the hair? There was something that didn't. Usually that's like the big.
He's got
the hair's there.
The hair's there. It's him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
But
I guess I'm just gonna have to go back and watch this movie.
You're gonna have to watch From Dusk Till Dawn again.
Damn it.
It sets at the very beginning too, just that long shot with and I forgot that John was in it. John Hawkes is at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And he's done a bunch of stuff, and was in Eastbound and Down and stuff. I love him. He's also a great musician. But anyway, so he sets up that just really very much Quentin Tarantino sort of like. Just that scene kind of goes on for a minute, and they're talking, and it pays off when you find out Clooney's back there holding somebody, and but I just thought like, it's like, what is this? It's just a long sort of static shot for a while, that you don't normally see opening a movie,
Yeah, that's funny. That is so Tarantino though, because he really has sort of established that he's, like you said, like those long drawn out, very like Inglourious Bastards, like that, the opening in that, where you're like, what's happening? Like, I know there's tension, but like, where is it going and how is it going to, and he does, it's literally like that, but like through the lens literally of like a different filmmaker.
Well, that's just great dialogue. You know what I mean?
That's so good.
Where it's like you said, it's just kind of static. It's just back and forth between John Hawkes and Michael Parks, but it's like their dialogue is so good that you're just invested. And even though I don't fully agree with a lot of the things that they said, some of the words that were used, it's a little not too good, but it's captivating.
And that was the Ranger, Michael Parks.
Yeah.
He needs to play Timothy Olyphant's dad. All I could see when I was looking at him was like, that looks like a slightly older Timothy Olyphant. I mean,
that's such a good comparison. We just did a Michael Parks. We've done a few Michael Parks movies as the monster. We did
Red
both
State.
Both of them were Kevin Smith movies. Yeah,
Red State and Tusk. He was the villain in both of those. But
wow,
he's something. Talk about a ballsy actor who's willing to go places.
But sadly we lost Michael Parks a few years ago. He's but he was incredible, and he's all again. We're talking about actors who are great actors and also great musicians. Michael Parks is one of them too. He has a few albums back in the, I don't know if it was the 70s or 80s, but yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Michael Parks, did he just do everything? He's like, every time you talk about him, you always keep gassing him up, and I like find something else about him. I'm like, he really is pretty great. Like, what?
And speaking of music as well, like I used to have this soundtrack. I'm going to listen to it all the time. There's some good music in it. And especially that one that opens, as they blow up Benny's liquor store and they're driving away, and that rock song comes on in the title card, and man, so cool. Okay, well, let's jump into this. We're gonna start talking about our monster reveals. Let's cross the border. We're going to Mexico, and we are headed to the Titty Twister for some. What does Cheech Marin say? He says, "We got horse pussy, we got chicken pussy." God.
Cheech Marin, who has 3 different characters in this movie
3
for some reason,
roles.
Which I love. Every time I've seen this movie, so I used to watch this a lot as a kid, which as an adult, I'm like, who was supervising me as a child? Because this is it's like beyond inappropriate. Like beyond like the whole strip club and monsters like that. The first act of this movie is so bleak when we're like focused on Richie's kind of psychotic mannerisms. actually, we should probably point out, this is one of our more unique episodes in that really most of the monster intros don't show up until really like at the midpoint. Like that's the moment when things change. So I feel like a lot of this is going to be set up. We'll obviously be introducing our central characters, but
this is such a fun movie to show someone who has no idea what it is. Although, like, I did show my wife this movie like 2 years ago, and she was so pissed when it turned into vampires.
Oh, no.
Because she was like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna figure it out. She's gonna figure it out. But she didn't. But when it turned into vampires, she was like, what the hell? She was like, I was having such a good time with these characters and like trying to figure out where it was gonna go and what was gonna happen, and then it fucking turns into vampires, and I was like, oh, I was so disappointed.
In her defense, there is a great movie happening in that first act that could go a more traditional, like non-supernatural route. But we talk about this a lot on the show about how we have that kind of nostalgic bias.
Yeah.
You know, we both watched a lot of these movies as kids. So it's like, oh, it's the greatest, you know, like wait until you see.
Yeah. And how does it hold up?
Yeah.
You know, I loved when I was the first time I saw it when I was younger, I loved the back half. And this time I was a little bit more intrigued with the first half, you know, and I knew what happened. I knew the turn. And then when it happened, I was like, okay, now this is a different movie. Now we're into this. It's almost like I felt like you're going to, you know, and then the explosions and the big, and, you know, it was a different ride this time.
Yeah, totally.
You know, what's funny? I never thought of it like this, but, you know, Tarantino and Rodriguez in 2007 did the Grindhouse movies.
Yeah.
They did Planet Terror and Death Proof.
Yeah.
This kind of has that DNA, like Tarantino's doing his movie, Rodriguez is doing his. I wonder if that was in the conversation at some point. Like, what if we did a kind of weird amalgam of like what the Grindhouse movie was, but as a singular movie? I'm kind of just guessing, but like that's what it feels like. The DNA feels like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this was 96. Grindhouse was 2007.
Yeah.
Right.
Are you saying it's it's not the same movie?
Are you saying like just like backwards? Like
they were thinking like, what if we did something similar? And then by 2007, it's like we're both in a place in our career where we can just be like, fuck it, we're just gonna do our literal Grindhouse movie with this whole that setup.
Yeah.
There is something interesting about all that. I know we're getting into the meat of it, but there's something interesting about all the practicals that they use. You know, you've got bodies. I really enjoyed the way some, you know, I mean, it did make sense really that some would burst into flames, some would like blow up, and then
the rules, the logic.
It's just all over the place. Like at that point, it's like, you know, it's like again, a cartoon. But I enjoyed like watching the bodies meld, and then the different. It's like that would also be CGI now or something. You know, that would not be as practical as it was back then. So it was like, oh, this has a place in cinematic history because they don't make movies like this anymore. Like it was the end of that era a little bit.
Yeah.
And like you had said, that second half is so big, like so explosive that it's actually kind of crazy that they could get away with what they got away with those practical effects at that capacity.
Yeah. Which there was some cool effects that I found out in watching some behind the scenes stuff that we didn't see in the movie. Like a vampire, like on top of one of the truckers, like popping a pimple. And like all this shit squirts out, and then there's like it like covers the guy, and we did. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think this shot is in the movie, but you know when they have like their wild bunch standoff where there's like the 4 girl vampires and the 4 dudes, and you see that one vampire with like the stomach that's open.
Yeah.
I don't think this shot made it into the final cut, but there's a shot where she eats the head off a trucker, like. His head goes into her stomach and she rips it off, and like Clooney's just like watching her. I don't think that's in the final cut.
That.
No, it wasn't in.
But that was cool, and you know, you talk about the melting bodies when Danny Trejo's vampire melts. This was the first time watching this movie that I noticed his eyes roll into the corner pockets of the pool table that he's on.
That's funny.
I've seen this movie so many fucking times, and I never noticed that they roll off to the sides. It's so funny.
Yeah, like you said, cartoon logic. It's what enhances the movie.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But okay, speaking of all those vampires, let's go to the Titty Twister. right. For From Dusk Till Dawn, we have 12 official monster reveals. And, Danny, you had mentioned this isn't our typical kind of movie that we do because the first half is more like a action drama thriller. And then the second half is a horror movie. And our main characters are monsters themselves.
Yeah.
But for the sake of this movie and for our monster reveals, we only counted vampires as monsters. So we'll talk about Seth and Richie, but mostly it's about the vampires. Okay, so this was my pick for our Cruel Summer triple feature. And so I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis from IMDb, and let's see how this one stacks up. 2 criminals and their hostages unknowingly seek temporary refuge in a truck stop populated by vampires with chaotic results. That was okay. Yeah.
All right. Of the IMDb synopses we have read, it's very concise. It is what it is. Spoils the movie.
It totally spoils the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. So like a half bravo. Like there was brevity, but maybe somehow too much in the brevity.
Yeah.
They could have pulled back a little bit more.
I can't help but thinking, for the 90s kids, that this must have been, and this is a blue observation. This must have been a movie that they queued up for masturbatory material for like probably 2 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Like all those women, Salma Hayek. I mean, this is the generation. My generation used to do like I would get a Victoria's Secret magazine, and I just have to run rampant with my like. There was this pre-Pornhub. There was nothing else out there. This give me Dusk Till Dawn. Put it at minute 100. I mean, it had to have been for a lot of people.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
From Dusk Till Dawn is the Victoria's Secret masturbatory material for Gen Xers for the 90s.
I mean, oh my God.
That's
so beautiful.
hilarious.
Salma Hayek is so beautiful. And just,
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, Quentin's obvious and very public foot fetish, right?
Yeah.
And
then you see it. Yeah.
This is, you always wonder, like when somebody's making a movie, especially if they're like the writer director and then like also the star, and they put themselves in these roles that like have to do something like what Quentin does with Salma Hayek. It's so, I don't know. It's like, it makes me feel weird and
he
icky,
knew what
like,
he was doing. Yeah,
obviously. And like, this is like one of those like prime examples of being like, okay, dude, like
he's like, Robert, this isn't in the script, but what if I feel like Seth would want to put her foot in his mouth. What do you think? I'm just throwing it out there. We could try it out. We could shoot it if we've got some time.
Just see what happens.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. So, speaking of Salma Hayek, this is our very first monster reveal of the movie. This is Santanico Pandemonium, which I just found out, she's got that snake on as she's doing her dance. And speaking of monster reveals, this is like such a grand entrance for our main monster here. But it was written in the script that she was like, her vampire form was like a rodent, which we'll see later with Sex Machine.
Yeah.
But then they were like, well, hey, she's got the snake on. Let's make her more reptilian, more snake-like. And so
that's so interesting though, because now I want to read the script, because we were kind of talking about they kind of played a little loose with the logic behind how to kill a vampire and just kind of like the rules of a vampire. But it seems like even the look of it. So, okay, now I'll try to contain myself, but we call them vampires, like, because they play by certain vampiric lore, obviously. But then they also kind of just talk about how that these are creatures from hell. And this movie ends up being like this battle between like good and like traditional, like good and evil. So maybe like by the film's logic is they're not quote unquote vampires. They just are demons. And in our world, what we know of, like in the world of like Quentin Tarantino loves to reference film and in literature. So maybe in his head, he's like, they're not actually vampires. So we can play loose with the logic, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to call them vampires. They drink your blood. That's enough. They turn into bats. That's enough. But otherwise they can also kind of just do everything else. There's no form that they take. It's just, it can be whatever, I don't know, like demonic. There's no logic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the logic in me explaining the lack of logic. And I'm like tripping up over that.
Right.
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of uniformity, right? Towards the, when you get in that last chapter, they're stuck in the room. Harvey Keitel's with the kids. He's been bitten. They tend to, those schools that come out, like once the bats come in and they've established themselves as whatever this population that we learned maybe was at the bottom of the pyramid, then we kind of get like a uniformity. But up until that point, it feels like there's a lot of different type of genius species up here.
Yeah.
You know?
So maybe there's like a subspecies of these demon vampire things. Like there's the ones that can turn into bats. There's the ones that are more rat-like, the ones that are snake-like.
Yeah.
I mean, I also haven't seen the sequel, so maybe this is like a thing that they just cover in part 2.
I didn't even know there was a 2 and a 3. Yeah. Until
I saw this. I saw them when I was a kid, but they're definitely not up there. Actually, you know, we were talking about Robert Patrick. I think he's actually in the sequel. He's in part 2.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, okay.
And then I think 2 might be like a continuation, and then 3 I think goes back and it's like in the past. It's like a Western kind of thing. I think it's called The Hangman's Daughter or something like that. I'd like to see him again, but then, you know, they also made a show too.
Oh yeah.
But one of the things I was kind of wondering, like when watching this, I was like, what is the point of Richie and Seth's relationship? You know, like they could have just been like 2 criminals together and then like getting to the same spot. Like there's not like, what is it? Like, why did it have to be this like
brothers?
Well, not brothers, but like, what is the point of like, they have a conflict too.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, and so, but that got me thinking. And then I realized this whole movie is about belief and faith. And because almost every character asks another character if they believe them about something. You know, Richie you can't trust or believe anything Richie does because he doesn't, you know, he's not all there. And so Seth doesn't really believe Richie. Seth asks Kate if she believes him at one point. And then you got Harvey Keitel's character, Jacob, talking about his faith. And everyone's asking each other if they believe them, or do you believe me? Or does he believe this? Or do you believe in God? Or do you believe in this? And it's like, that's kind of like the encompassing thing of this whole movie is faith and belief. And if you go back and watch it, you'll notice that, like, because I've seen this movie so many goddamn times, that like this time, as I was taking notes on it for the first time, it was like, oh yeah, everyone's asking somebody about belief. And I just thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, there's obviously like that relationship between them you think of like, and maybe this is a stretch, but like with that conversation of like faith and belief and like how you have unconditional love for someone, but really it is kind of conditional in some cases with faith. So I think Seth is kind of contending with that. Like, what does it mean to love my brother? You know, what is it to unconditionally love him? And who is he? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of self-reflection going on and like finding themselves and this journey toward, I don't know. I feel like the whole movie is like this internal journey and an external journey of faith, and also just like understanding like who I am on this path to kind of like, am I good? Am I bad? And Seth ends up being like this character who is very much in the middle, but maybe despite all of the shit he's done, leans more toward
good.
You know, good. Yeah. Like he's at the end of the day, he is the hero because it just comes out naturally.
Well, like he says at the end, he says, you know, I may be a bastard, but I'm not a fucking bastard.
It's a great line.
Is like the thesis. Yeah. 100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'm kind of jumping ahead, but there's that great scene with Jacob when Jacob tells Seth, he's like, are you such a loser that you don't know when you've won?
Yeah.
And you see Seth kind of register that, and he gets mad. He does his classic, like, oh, I'm going to beat you up over this.
You
but
see him in his face. He has like twitches, like his eyes twitch and stuff. Yeah.
But he still takes it. And you realize it's like you realize he's just a guy who doesn't have guidance, you know, whereas like Richie he's psychotic. Like we even see that when like he thinks he hears Juliette Lewis's character say something to him, and she obviously didn't. Like he's lost. Whereas like, God, I keep throwing their names around. Seth is just someone who has zero guidance because he's the one guiding the psychopath, but there's no one guiding him. And then he meets Jacob, who is this like fantastic father figure, and he kind of gives him tough love, which is probably something that he never had. And I think that helps him sort of on his journey. And maybe I'm derailing too far from what you were talking about with like this idea of belief, but I feel like there's something there with like faith, and that whole journey there's some kind of connective thread. But
I mean, I derailed us completely because we were talking about
let's keep derailing it, guys. This is what we're all about. Like, let's just go. Like, the train is off the tracks. Let's keep it there.
Well, let's just jump to our second reveal. This all happens very quickly, but Santanico turns into a vampire, and then everyone else does, and they just like start popping up everywhere. And this is where like
dancers,
shit
bartenders,
has hit the fan.
Security, the band,
which
is one of my favorite reveals. Again, I'll just not even mention Logic because I just love the body parts with the guitars and someone just had an idea and was like, let's try this out. And like, why would they have? Don't worry about it. You're asking too many questions.
But one thing I found out, like when Danny Trejo's character sits up and the other like bouncer guy sits up and Cheech Marin sits up, that was shot backwards. They laid down and then they reversed it and sped it up so it looks like they're just like rising from the dead. And I thought that was pretty fucking cool.
That's like cool. A thing in vampire movies though. Didn't they do that? Maybe it's not Bela Lugosi, but I had seen that or I'd heard about that done in like some behind the scenes movies where to get that effect of
have you ever tried to like I mean, that's like a perfect sort of sit up, like the stomach control that you need from that, and you're gonna like this area is gonna kind of flex. I mean, that's
they've been
a massive
planking. They're preparing.
Yeah, what's easier? Plank for 2.5 years or
Looking at Danny Trejo, Danny Trejo might have been able to pull that off. But Cheech Marin and the other guy, I don't think so.
Cheech was like, can we just reverse the film?
It was their idea because they couldn't do it. They're like, I got an idea. Here's what we do. But yeah, you get a lot of transformations. You get the girl who like locks the door and she says dinner is served, and then like her whole face turns and it's just like fucking chaos. Everyone's getting ripped apart and
which I was surprised when we were counting the different reveals. I was like, I feel like this episode's going to be pretty straightforward in terms of like they just turn into vampire. I'm like, oh no. Then there's this they turn into a vampire. Then we have round 2 coming up with which we'll obviously get to, but
this is, and part of it, again, this is me watching the second time when I was younger, and I was obviously, I was attracted to it, whatever. But it was a little bit like when just to sidestep just for a second and not derail us completely, like Jason, and like, it was one thing as a kid because I was always scared by it, but there's another thing like knowing that like there's boobs and stuff. So as a kid, I was like, why would he go in there? And as an adult, I'm like, well, I could see why.
Yeah.
And there's this element too, that the stakes are higher because like, well, it'd be hard to say no on that one.
Yeah.
And then it happens, so I think I understood the conceit a little bit better.
Yeah, totally. Which
great.
It's funny, you talk about Jason, that heart that was pumping. When
reminded me of Friday 9.
Jason Goes to Hell.
Yeah,
that's the heart. That's the
wait, literally the heart.
Yeah, that is the actual prop that they used that was pumping, and they had it because K&B did the effects for that too, and so they had it, and they were like, let's use that heart again, and I thought that was pretty cool. It's funny that you bring up Jason.
But yeah, I do love how the the classic 80s slasher logic extends to this movie too. And it's not even like some like camp counselors. It's like, no, it's just it's a strip club. Like there is really no escape from any of it. The nudity and the porn of it all, and also the carnage.
Totally.
There's no escape.
Okay, our third reveal. This is when Seth meets Richie as a vampire. He meets his brother, who is like, it's almost like fucking Frankenstein's monster. He's got like the big forehead and a bigger chin, and that always as a kid that always scared me too. When he turns and he says, "I love you too, Seth," and then his face just like turns into the vampire. That always got me. I was freaked out by that.
Yeah, it was a good shot.
And then obviously this is a huge turning point for. We were talking about Seth and his little journey, because he actually kind of fairly quickly decides like, all right, I gotta kill him, which is usually you get those usually see that in a lot of zombie movies.
But he doesn't let the other person kill him, right? He's like,
that's
get away.
A great point.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's like, I got to do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he sees, you see that shot of him like seeing him as his brother, but he's like, he still sees the fangs and he's like, I know this isn't real. And I know he's, yeah. It's a good scene. It's a good scene.
Also Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez, like that's a heavy task to feel sympathy, not just for these two criminals, but then also for, I mean, you're not really feeling sorry for Richie, but it's just kind of like a package deal where he's such a hateable character. He's so evil, which was established earlier on. For us to get sympathy out of that is that's like a masterclass in storytelling and character development. It's pretty wild.
Totally. Yeah. So then, Seth starts drinking and Jacob's like, hey, we need you sober. Then this is where the bikers and the truckers all start like coming back to life.
Yeah. Round 2.
I forget what was the first one that does that? Who's the first one we see come back to life?
I don't remember. Because I think it's just like random.
Just a random dude?
Well, because they hear the bats.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, what's that sound? And Seth is like, bats. And he's kind of realizing like, we're in a vampire movie. Like, this is what's happening. Like, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to waste my time questioning it.
So, we get a round of bikers and truckers turning back into vampires. And we get that great shot with, or I guess it's like a sequence with Kate trying to, get up the nerve to stab that one dude in the chest. And
meanwhile, Tom Savini's sex machine is just like, what is it Frost that he impales them 4 different vampires on the 4 legs of the turned over table. It's so good.
Yeah. There's some really fun, some stuff in this when they're killing the vampires. But this is where Sex Machine ultimately gets bit.
Yeah. Heartbreaking. This broke my heart when I watched this as a kid because he is kind of designed to be the coolest character. He's got the dick gun and the whip and the leather jacket, and it's fucking Tom Savini. Like he's as a kid, I didn't realize like who he was behind the scenes. But
I always wanted a fucking dick gun as a kid.
I still want a dick gun. There aren't enough. I'm not pro gun, but I'm not anti dick gun. That's my stance on gun rights.
Yeah, and so we talked about Seth realizing he's in a vampire movie. Between our 4th and 5th reveals, this is where we get that great back and forth between him and where he's kind of like, we're dealing with vampires. I don't believe in vampires, but I believe in my own 2 eyes, and what I saw was vampires. And then, they're kind of talking about like, how do we kill a vampire? And they're like all talking about their things. And they're talking about silver. And he's like, oh, that's werewolves. Oh, but no, silver has something to do with it. And Kate's like, does anyone have any silver? Then who cares? I fucking love that. But meanwhile, then we get Fred Williamson, who is Frost, talking about his Vietnam story. Mm-hmm. And our 5th reveal takes place during this speech as we start to see Sex Machine slowly turn into a vampire. And he's noticing all these little things. And it's so fun. He plays it so well, like with the tooth, and he's trying to hide everything. And
the fingers coming up too on Frost are great.
Oh, yeah. And
that was good.
We go back to Logic, where it's like, how did they not see him behind him? But it's just, you don't think about that because it's so fun and it's creepy.
It just works.
Yeah.
Well, Gilly, you were mentioning Buster Keaton and like the silent era of filmmaking. And this is all just like, it is kind of, I mean, I'm not going to imply that like this is, but the clowning, like it's all physical comedy. And this whole scene is him putting on this silent performance, just revealing this like other part of him, which
absolutely. And I think, and that's, in American Clown, one of the interviews we had was with David Howard Thornton, which plays Art the Terrifier. And that's very much steeped in sort of high physical comedy and stuff. So absolutely, there's that place for all this,
Yeah, he plays that really well.
He does.
Art the Clown. Yeah, he's like,
Casey is our.
Yeah, it's a shame that Casey isn't here because
she's obsessed.
Yeah, she's met him a couple times, I think, and he's
a really sweet guy. He's a real sweet guy.
But Sex Machine bites Frost, and this is our 6th reveal, which Frost turns into like the vampire like boss so fast,
right?
So fast. Well, later Jacob says something. He's like, "I have about an hour."
I know, right?
I think you've got about 5 minutes.
Where's that math come from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, I think he even like looks at his watch. He's like, I think I'll turn into a vampire within the hour.
Yeah.
He is the embodiment of blind faith. He's like, I believe that I've got enough time.
Did you see Frost? It took him 3 minutes. Yeah, they don't have that.
He literally turns. It literally turns, and he turns.
He turns back. Yeah, he's a vampire. But
and they have that great shot of him like he opens the gate right, and then all the things come through. It looks really pretty, and it's such a big shot.
Which makes me wonder. Okay, so before we get to our next reveal, in this when Frost throws Sex Machine he throws Sex Machine right into the door.
Yes.
And what crashes it open?
Yep. Where
do you stand? Do you think that was Frost throwing him in and just so happened to hit the door, or do you think it was Vampire Frost being like, "I am now a vampire. I think be strategic."
I totally understand because I've thought that before, but I think it was just Frost throwing him and then being like, not intentionally doing it.
Yeah.
But by the time he was out there, he was already...
Frost took credit, though. He's like, I meant to do that.
Yeah, I meant to do that, yeah.
Yeah, it kind of happens on the reveal, right? He becomes vampire on the reveal. Like, hey, look what I did. Yeah, it's interesting.
He's like, you guys see that?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, Danny, you had mentioned earlier about like we call them vampires, but they're kind of just like demons because they take so many different forms. When I was watching the behind the scenes video that I saw, the Titty Twister was just like a facade, right? It was just like when they were filming it, it wasn't an actual building. They just built like the front, and
the temple was real though, right? The
ancient
absolutely.
Temple. The ancient temple was actually there at the end. Yep. They dug it out so that you could see everything.
I've visited a couple times. I've been there several times.
There are
great place to drink beer.
We talk about matte paintings quite a bit on this show, and like that's a great one. I fucking love that. But yeah, so anyways, what you were saying about like being demons, Rodriguez said that they designed the Titty Twister with like the flames and everything they wanted to make it feel like the gates of hell, he said.
That's fun.
And so I thought that was kind of neat that, going to your point about demons and then having all the flames and making it feel like the gates of hell. So
it's funny. We did, what was it? Oh no, we didn't we did Critters 2 for one of our watch alongs. And there's that scene
we did a full episode on Critters 2.
What am I? Leprechaun 2 is what I'm thinking of.
Leprechaun 2, yeah.
When
Leprechaun 2,
when the guy thinks he's walking toward a pair of breasts, but it's actually the
lawnmower blades.
Yeah, so many horror movies. I feel like that is like now the theme of this episode, where it's like breasts lure people to their doom. This movie, literally, they built a shrine to it.
Like Bugs to Light. Like Bugs to Light.
And dude, like it's all dudes who just like get super dumbed down when they see the boobs. They're just like,
yeah, it's just like eyes glazed.
That's not realistic at all.
Nope.
Not at all.
Oh, that's hilarious.
All right. So our seventh reveal is, these Sex Machine, Frost, and this reveal, our seventh one, kind of all happened simultaneously. This is where all the bats come in, and then Jacob, who is behind the bar at this point, now he stands up and he has made his cross out of the shotgun and
everyone else
bat.
has gone and hid it in the back.
Yeah,
but Jacob's still behind the bar,
and so he's kind of meeting all of these bats who have now transformed, and
these are that's how I've been distinguishing them. These are the vampires.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So these are the outsiders.
There's uniformity to it. Yeah. The everyday citizens of the temple.
The locals.
Yeah. So it makes me wonder, like these vampires, it's not just, like you say, the locals, like they're not just in here. They I guess they go home at some point, right? Because where did all these bats come from? They just must live in the area. I don't know, but
I think
the temple's pretty got
like 10 floors. Yeah, like the temple.
The 10 floors. They just go down. They've got their own. If you look at it, some of them have stuff in front of their doors, little little wreaths and stuff.
Welcome bats. Welcome bats.
Nice.
Welcome bats, Matt. Yeah, welcome back. Yeah.
But there was only I think there was 9 or 12 of those guys. And that shot is a composite shot where they put them on a blue screen and they multiplied them in post so that it looks like more.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But it's funny, I was watching that video and you see the behind the scenes shot of some of them and they're just in boxer shorts, but like their top halves have all these fucking like crazy monster makeup, but then like their bottom half is just like legs and boxers, like regular legs.
That reminds me of on RuPaul's Drag Race. There's, I don't know if it's a rumor, but it's kind of a running gag that when they're in the judging part of it, RuPaul, when she's sitting behind the table, she's dressed up, but underneath is just wearing like shorts and and so it reminds me of that. But there's an episode where during one of they're judging and they ask a question, or they ask them to ask a question, and one of the queens is like, Ru, will you stand up? And Ru just looks at them and is kind of like, you're gonna be eliminated in the next episode, you fucking bitch. So that's basically funny. Same logic.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, I always thought that was so cool, like with Jacob and his cross with the shotgun.
Yeah.
Like
so epic. Just cocking a crucifix is not something I
well, that and then I
cool.
can't believe we just kind of blew over with Frost when the shotgun stuck in there to like to cock it through the body.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's so good.
Yeah, we're gonna come back to that. That's because I don't think Jacob has met Frost yet.
That's later.
That's later. That's in their fight. Yeah, that's such a fun thing. So we're gonna come back to that for sure. But right now is our 8th reveal. This is after Jacob has gotten to the back. They have done that really cool montage. Of like, so I love fun. Like a getting ready montage, and this is one of the best. I love
cool. The way they set it up, where they're like, it's from all the shipments stolen from truckers.
Yeah,
so clever, so simple, but so clever.
Yeah,
they have the crossbow. Seth has the jackhammer stake, which is so not. It's functional, but it's not like
convenient.
It seems faster to like just stab people than like all right, like. And then the holy water gun is pretty cool.
Which I thought would be, I was thinking last night, I was like, it would be so fucking funny if blessing the water didn't work and Scott was just fucked because that's all he had. It was fucking a water gun and water balloons.
Jacob,
water
you
condoms.
Were a priest. Right. You are a priest anymore.
He just fucking gets demolished right out of the gate.
That's what happens when you go all in. You know, sometimes you lose.
Totally. But when they're getting ready, that's another moment where we talk about belief, where Jacob's like, hey, when I turn, you need to kill me. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. And he's like, how come I don't believe you? Like, do it again. So just a little thing I noticed.
Also, just the conviction also just comes from the fact that it's fucking Harvey Keitel. I sometimes forget like Harvey Keitel just in this, like, it's not a silly vampire movie, but because it's with everything we've talked about, who's behind the scenes. But for all intents and purposes, it is just like kind of a romp, like a horror action romp. And he is putting in a performance that is very oddly tender.
It was character work, not his usual sort of fare.
No, it's
where he's like,
it's beautiful. Even to the point that he literally like puts on the makeup later on. Spoiler alert for a future reveal, but and he just kind of leans into it, and it's a lot of fun seeing someone. You look at like a lot of the roles that I just watched Copland for the first time.
So good.
And it's such a dark and like serious performance. Then it's always nice to see actors kind of
just change it up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But Seth, Scott, and Kate meet the vampire bats for the first time. Actually, when the bats are flying in and the three of them are running to the back room to get away from them, it cuts to Seth on the other side of the door, and he's shutting it, and there's like a full-sized vampire trying to get in. I almost counted that. Well, I heard in watching the behind the scenes, Rodriguez was like, oh, that's a continuity error. Like, it doesn't make sense that they were bats and then he's full sized. And he said, like, instead of like reshooting it, we were just going to like leave it in there. I always thought that was on purpose. And I think it's fucking like awesome. I always thought that was like such a fucking cool thing.
I love it.
And then to hear him say,
Robert,
like, oh,
don't be
that
so
was
hard on yourself.
It was a mistake, but we're going to leave it. And I was like, okay. Damn, I'm still going to.
It's one of those things that's like that when you have like anxiety and you're like calling something out and you're like, no one noticed that. We would have never said anything until you did. Robert, just it's okay.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to link this video that I watched in our show notes down there because it's really fun. I learned a lot about this movie and a lot of the makeup effects and stuff like that. So, But here it is, our 9th reveal. This is Sex Machine Round 2. He's like the devil. I call him a devil dog, but it's more like a rat. But
I don't know.
he gets his head yanked off, and then he's on all fours, and it just starts like shaking, so and then his head grows out. And what a cool, what a fucking cool thing.
In what is it? Oh, I know what it is. So this movie, this whole second act of the movie really reminds me a lot. It has a very similar energy to Peter Jackson's Dead Alive, where it's just like bloody carnage, except in that one, it's more zombies. This one's more, but even down to this transformation reminds me of the rat monster, the zombie rat that kind of like starts everything. Right. So I always wonder if that was kind of intentional. You know, if they're kind of doing this kind of bloody romp. Like, what if we just kind of... It doesn't make sense. Like, there's no reason for him to turn into this creature, this very specific look.
Yeah, because, you know, again, I know I keep referencing this video, but like it was so informative. The one trucker who is a vampire and he doesn't have any legs, and he's crawling after Kate.
After Julia.
That they said was like an homage to Peter Jackson with Dead Alive. So that totally makes sense that the rat thing was also like...
I mean, it's obviously not like a literal like interpretation of it, but even the jackhammer and even the way that they use the shotgun with the making it a cross feels very much in the way, I can't remember the character's name from Dead Alive, but the way he also he basically utilizes things that aren't weapons as weapons when he has is it the lawnmower? Right?
He's got a
lawnmower.
He like
literally mows them down with the lawnmower.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Listeners, this is us officially stating that a great double feature would be Peter Jackson's Dead Alive and Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh yeah,
perfect night.
That would be fun.
Horror movies.
I had
maybe a future watch along.
When the rat came out, it had for me and as a kid, it's just one of the original Thing. You know, or the thing.
Yeah.
I just thought it kind of had that metamorphosis that happens in the animal.
Totally.
What is that? You know?
Yeah. And it's all goopy and slimy and
That's a good reference too, because we keep bringing up kind of like logic of this. In that movie, like it kind of is built on the bones of not having logic. Like the Thing just becomes... It doesn't really have a form,
whatever the host is, right? Kind of alien like this sort of alien aspect.
Yeah, and even then, it's like it's a weird interpretation of it. Yeah.
It's like it screws up the DNA. It's got like weird arms. You know.
Like we assume that this is what it is, right? Okay, so I scratched what I said. It's not a double feature. It is going to be a triple feature. Throw in John Carpenter's The Thing, and you've got yourself a perfect night.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Okay, bringing it back to our shotgun. This is our 10th reveal. This is Jacob meets Frost for the first time because he was thrown behind the bar, so he didn't meet Frost as the vampire, but now he does. And they talked about their bodies earlier being like soft, and so he like just shoves he stabs them with the fucking shotgun, and then he sees vampires behind him, and so he starts cocking the gun with just like through his...
So I love how unnecessary it is, but it's just so fun to watch. It's such a fun visual gag.
I love it.
Yeah. And this bleeds right into our 11th reveal, where as soon as Frost is gone, Jacob's about to be attacked by some of the other vampires, and they just kind of back off, and you're like,
oh, I love that so much. It's one of my favorite moments.
They just like walk away, and you're like, oh shit. And he turns and the makeup on him is pretty scary. I mean, it's he's got like still has like the beard, like it's like whiskers almost, and then he's just sharp.
It's very like traditional devil, you know. He almost looks like with the pointed chin, and almost like kind of has that sort of satanic look, which is kind of fitting for him because he's, you know,
I wonder if they did that on purpose to like kind of do the opposite of what his faith. But Scott fucks it all up.
Yeah,
because he can't do it. He said he'd do it, and he didn't do it. And then he
throws the holy water condom at his head.
That's right.
He does melt off some of his face, but he doesn't commit fully.
Yep. And then Scott gets attacked and
then explodes.
It's like explodes. Yeah, he's not even like a full vampire yet. His whole body explodes.
And what was that? There's like body pieces everywhere.
I also really quickly. I really quickly just want to mention the band when they turn to the band and the singer's like, all right, good night. And it's like the classic, like, but then they explode.
Yeah, they explode themselves.
Yeah, like they are like, nah, we're good. They're not paying enough for this shit. So.
Yeah.
I almost thought it could have been a distraction. They exited through the back or something. But yeah, I think
totally.
the inference is that they all die.
Yeah.
That makes more sense if they were just like, yeah. But
they could have like blown up their fucking body guitars, right? He's like playing a guitar of like
right.
A dead
the body guitars are fine, right? Like that. Why wouldn't that blown up too?
Hey, I think we're all artists here in different ways, and I think we all have to make sacrifices for our art. And I think that was Tarantino just being very literal.
Having been on a set a lot, and and often sometimes when they're doing some sort of like all those prosthetics and stuff, it was funny that. I mean, it looks great, but like with a lot of the characters, like they get to the face, it's almost like we need him on set. I was like, okay, he's good. We'll worry about the body later. Like there's just like what, and then some are, I mean, it looked great, but they're just like, we did the face. That's good enough. We're just quick shot.
That's all we need. That's all we have time for. Yeah.
Just don't shoot from here down.
Right. A little bit.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so this is the end of the movie. This is our 12th and final reveal. Kate has now shot her brother, Scott. He blew up. It's just her and Seth, and they're fighting the vampires. And, I never thought about the logic in this when I was younger, as she shoots holes in the walls. Mm-hmm. He's like, shoot more holes. And she's got like a couple bullets left. So she's shooting holes, but there's a good chance that she would hit like some concrete or something that's
very
not
thin
wood.
Walls at the Titty Twister.
Like, man, just every shot was a direct hit into a like a thin piece of wall or wood. I was like, okay. But on our 12th reveal, Carlos, who Seth and Richie were down there to meet, him and his thugs, I guess, busts open the door and they see all the people there just before they explode when all the sunlight touches them. And what is he says, what were they, psychos? He's like
psychos don't explode when sunlight hits them.
I don't give a fuck how crazy they are. Oh god. But From Dusk Till Dawn, such a fun fucking movie. I love it so much. Okay, now we are going to go through and we're going to pick our favorite reveal of From Dusk Till Dawn.
What's going on here? I don't see anything anywhere. That's how they get you. They're under the goddamn ground.
Here we go. I'm going to do a speed round recap. We've got Santanico Pandemonium. We've got the first round of vampires, stripper vampires. We've got Richie turning into a vampire. Bikers and truckers. We've got Sex Machine. We've got Frost. We've got when the bats come in and Jacob meets them all with his shotgun cross. Seth, Kate, and Scott meet the vampires. Sex Machine turns into a devil. I'm still going to call him a devil dog, but he's more like a rat, but I'm going to say devil dog. And then we've got Jacob meeting Frost, Jacob turning into a vampire, and Carlos and the exploding psychos. You guys, what was one of your favorite reveals in From Dusk Till Dawn?
I thought I was going to come into this being like, oh, it's Santanico Pandemonium. It's iconic. It's kind of like, it is. I even made a note. I was like, I think this might be one of the coolest monster intro like reveals that we've done on the show because of the everything we've talked about already.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think my favorite reveal was Sex Machine.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it does kind of like, again, we talked about it, just like the physical humor of it, Savini's performance, the visual gags, but then also how it is really disturbing. Like the hands coming up behind Frost I'm feeling a lot of emotions. I'm feeling humor. I'm feeling fear. And it's it kind of encapsulates exactly what the tone of this movie is perfectly. So I'm gonna go with Sex Machine.
Okay. All right. Gilly, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I think I am a sucker for storylines and I am a sucker for emotion. So I really do like Harvey Keitel's reveal, his like when all the kids are there, they've made this promise. You're like, feels like an hour. I don't know what's going on. And then, and then again, those vampires just kind of back away and you're like, oh shit.
Pretty good.
Because you knew just him letting him in was like, why is he letting him in? He's going to turn. He was bitten.
Yeah.
And then, so it's a ticking time bomb,
Right.
But I love the emotion of that stuff. I just love that. Like, they're gonna have to kill their dad. Oh no.
That's a great pick. Yeah.
And even
That's
getting
really
down to like, I'm still going to stick to this fucking point about belief and faith. Even
enough with the belief and the
like Seth finally like trusts Jacob enough to believe him when he's like banging on the door and he's like, let me in. Like, I'm still good. And they can't see him, but they're just like, okay, like I believe him. And he lets him in. And so, the fucking, the vampires back off of Jacob and like Scott looks at his watch. He's like, fuck, has it been an hour already? Like, God damn it.
That was a quick hour.
That was a quick hour. And then fucking Kate comes over and it's like, oh, like his watch stopped or something. And they're like trying to figure it out. And I don't know. It could be like a whole thing. But I'm going to go with Santanico Pandemonium because it is such like it's that moment in the movie. Like if you go into this not knowing what it is, and then that's like the thing. It's like, oh shit, like what the fuck? I thought this was just like a crime movie. And then we get vampires and it's just, it's so cool. And that when Danny Trejo stabs Quentin's hand with the knife, and then Kate sees it on the thing. It's like dripping blood, right? I always thought, until just this recent viewing, that it was like a green blade.
No, I was like, the blood is
for some
green.
reason I always thought like the blade was green, and I just was like, I just took that as fact. But then this time I'm like, oh no, it's the fucking blood that's green. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this fucking movie, and I never picked up on that. But but yeah, Santanico Pandemonium. I love it. I don't like feet though. I hate fucking feet. Yeah. I'm not a feet guy, but I'm still picking this as my favorite because it's such a good monster reveal. Quentin can fuck right off.
That's real strength.
Thank you.
You transcended your fear of feet.
Okay, now it is time for a segment that we like to call The Real Monster.
Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man.
You're a monster.
I'm not the monster here. You are. You and the rest of that fairy tale trash poisoning my perfect world. Now tell me, where are the others?
Eat me.
Okay. Danny, would you like to start us off with your real monster?
Yes. I have a few. I'll try to get through them very quickly.
Okay.
One I'm actually going to leave for you because I know it's going to be on your list.
Sure. Yep.
I have Seth a couple times. I have Seth for leaving Gloria alone with Richie.
Right. Which
like,
knows. You see it in his eyes when he leaves.
Yeah.
You see there's a quick moment in his eyes where he knows that this might be a mistake.
Yeah. Like maybe Seth's on his own journey and he's maybe contending with his own things about like his relationship with his brother, but you knew what you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Also Seth for being I know he's got his heroic moments. George Clooney puts in a fantastic performance and I got to give him credit for having an arc, but he is a racist homophobe, which he displays in that scene with when they kidnap the family.
Yep.
Little cross the line. I wish they had given that to Richie.
Sure.
Because it's hard for me to like root for Seth in the end when you like look back like, oh, you're not just a robber, you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
On so many levels.
Wait, you are a fucking bastard.
Yeah, like you are. Just because you said that doesn't. I also have whoever designed the door, the bathroom door in the RV. Just more of a shower curtain. I feel like we all need a little bit more than that when we're using the facilities. I have Santanico Pandemonium for knocking down Frost's dominoes. Just kind of a running gag where he's trying to set up the dominoes.
Yeah.
I love it. If you watch it the second time, it gets knocked over again. He's just like, So defeated.
Fuck.
Although maybe he's a real monster for setting up the dominoes on a table in a bar in the first place.
With strippers dancing on it.
Yeah. And then finally I have Scott for really underutilizing his water gun. Because there's a lot of times where he just like unloads and takes out quite a few vampires and then just doesn't use it. He just kind of runs around with it.
And it seems like the easiest way because like he has distance. It only apparently takes a little squirt of water for them to go up in flames. He could have just like knocked them all out in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So that's what I've got.
Gilly, do you have any real monsters for this?
The real monster, I don't know. I think you got kind of a bunch, Dan. You kind of nailed them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of, obviously Richie was a real monster.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of Quentin Tarantino in his movies, but watching that again, I thought like, oh, that's pretty. That shows some restraint. You look so young and and he's kind of dislikable to begin with, as his characters in his movie, like even Pulp Fiction. Like, oh, what did they? But I thought he did a great job. Watching it again, just real like a good acting job, like a good restraint. Didn't do too much and stuff. But as far so Richie, I'm partly maybe a Jacob just for getting his family in that situation to begin with,
Oh, sure.
Letting it happen.
Yeah, he just had to stop at that fucking hotel. He just had to have a real bed.
Yeah,
God damn it.
Right. He had an RV,
they keep telling like Julie He's like,
that,
not this one. If we have to stop, this place is horrible. Like, let's not
listen to your daughter. Get one with the pool. Like, what is hard about that?
Exactly.
Those are real emotions she's having. That was great. That was great.
Those are good.
So if I had a big one, to be Jacob.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Danny, I think you called mine right out of the gate. Like, know what mine was going to be. It's the R word in the opening segment with Michael Parks and John Hawkes talking about. I think they call the kid like a mongoloid, and they call him like a bunch of different names that just aren't fucking cool. And just, it's not just like the name, the slurs they use. It's also like what they're talking about. Like, are they allowed to serve food to the public? And there should be a law against it. And I'm like, dude, okay, just let's tone this down a bit.
Yeah, like we're establishing that we don't. It's not that they're designing these characters with this dialogue for us to root for them. So that's good. But at the same time, it's like,
damn it. Maybe go a different route. Yeah. But so that's my real monster for From Dusk Till Dawn. And this is our very final segment. This is Would You Survive From Dusk Till Dawn?
And here we go.
I have a feeling that we would all perish, but I might be surprised.
I have an out.
Yo, Danny's got an out. Okay. Would you survive From Dusk Till Dawn, Danny?
Well, I said you wouldn't catch me dead in a straight strip club. I was like, Lord knows my cousins used to try. My 18th birthday. Hey, Danny, want to go to a strip club? I was like, nah, I'm good. I gotta wash my hair. I can't do it. I'm going to a different strip club. I can't do it. So for that reason, I would survive. If I was there, I would die very quickly. I'd be so scared, and it would just like crawl into a fetal position.
Yeah.
Don't let me see it happen. Just do it.
Gilly, would you survive?
Interesting. There's two. This is so I have before been to a brothel / strip club, and I've been to strip clubs before, but I would not call myself a frequenter of these establishments. Sure. And I didn't fare too well the first time I went and spent a night there. So I have a feeling that depending on when I went, like I would like to think like, I'd be there, baby. But I'm kind of like a big kind of wimp when it comes to that stuff, or I feel weird, so it's quite possible I could have been outside, like, trying to smoke a cigarette or something. Like, I just can't. It's too, I feel like they're being objectified. I just don't, and so I might have missed the melee,
Yeah.
But
you're like, thank God.
if
like
I
you
had
walk out to
stayed
smoke
in,
a cigarette and you come back and the door's fucking
Something.
locked and
Oh
you're
my
like
God.
banging on the door.
I'm so glad I
This
left.
is why I
couldn't
don't
get
go
back
to
in.
these things. Yeah.
Right? It could have just substantiated, why I never frequent these things. But if I had stayed in there, I think I would be dead.
Yeah.
I would not make it out. Vampires like this like scare the fucking hell out of me. Like Danny Trejo's vampire always scared me because he's like fucking big and buff and he roars, and when he like goes after Sex Machine and like jumps on the table, I would have been like, nope, I'm done. Like, that terrifies me. And I always think like when they do that Wild Bunch thing where they line up with the 4 and the 4 on each side, I'm like, fuck, that's terrifying. Like, I wouldn't be ready for that. I'd be like,
I'm like, oh wow, I'm a coward.
Oh, you guys walked a little faster than me and you got to him first. Okay, I see. No, I would be fucking dead. So I
liked my the line that really resonates with me that Clooney says. He kind of says it real offhand, and I just like, he's like, I don't care if I live or die. I just want to kill as many of these fuckers as I can. He's kind of looking around. I thought like that's how you totally feel. That's how you
if
feel.
I'm gonna go out,
I'm just gonna get rid of these guys. And that. So I'm hoping that that's where I would have been.
I believe in us. I think we all would have our hero moment if push came to shove. So
maybe we'll see.
Exactly.
I don't think so, Danny. Oh God. Okay. Well, that is From Dusk Till Dawn. That is our first movie in our Cruel Summer triple feature. Danny, what are we watching next? What's up next?
We are watching. Well, it's
Casey's movie, but she's not here. Yeah,
but Casey's not here now, so we will be watching Carter Smith's adaptation of The Ruins.
Oh, right. Yep. And it's kind of fitting too, because like the way that this movie ends with like that Mayan temple in the bottom, and then now we're going to watch The Ruins. It's kind of
back to the temple.
We totally did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Just that last shot. I will give it to Dustin on that last shot driving away, which is, I think you would probably a painted scene. It wasn't a practical something, but I just love the exposing that pyramid in the back, and you're like, oh God, this has been going on for a while.
Yeah.
I think.
And even we've talked about music a lot on this episode. The rock song that comes in when you get the reveal, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and that's why you should always, if you're going out with your friends and you're going to a bar, always check the back.
Always take a walk around. You got to secure the perimeter.
Yeah, just
like, oh shit, there's a temple back here.
Yeah,
let's go. Let's
wonder how long that's been back there.
Sun's setting.
Okay. Well, Gilly, thank you so much for joining us today to talk about From Dusk Till Dawn. Where can our listeners follow American Clown or you on social media?
Absolutely. Well, I'm Los Angeles Clown on Instagram. That's my company name as well, Los Angeles Clown Company. And then the movie's called American Clown, and our Instagram handle is American Clown Movie. And
awesome.
And you can find, like I said, we're going to be on June 23rd. We'll be previewing 7 p.m. Monday in Hollywood, right where they do the Academy Awards or have done it. So if you're in the LA area, please come and check it out. There's going to be hopefully a lot of fun players there. And the movie's got Steve-O and John C. Reilly and David Arquette and dozens of other bozos. So I think it should be great. And hopefully if you can't make it out to LA or you don't live in LA, I totally understand. Hopefully it'll be streaming somewhere, but American Clown, the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So exciting. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
Thanks guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, totally. Danny, time to embarrass yourself in front of our guests. Where can our listeners find you on social media?
You can find me on social media on Instagram and Blue Sky at my name, Danny Salem. That's DANNY SALEMME, 2 M's like the candy, melt in your butt, not in your hands.
It never gets old.
Stupid gag that we did, and it just stuck, and then they make me do it every time.
It never gets old anyways, but on top of the fact, it's so much better when we have a guest because I can see it in your face. You're just like,
oh my God,
it just drains out of you.
I have to commit to the bit. I can't just let it go. The show must go on.
And you can find me on social media at Zach Winsick. Make sure to join us next episode for The Ruins. And as always, thank you all for listening. Now go meet some monsters.